Call the Finance Committee meeting for June 8th to order. I'll be sitting in for Mr. Westmoreland. Roll call, Ms. Cindy.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Ms. Dominguez?
Present.
Ms. Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Westmoreland?
All right. I'm trying to get my computer up, Mr. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. The check registry for April 16th to May 15th.
Correct. The first item on the agenda is our check register, April 16th, 2021 to May 15th, 2021, in the amount of $15,852,751.82. No action is needed on this item, Madam President, just for Finance Committee review, and any questions, I'll entertain them now.
Any questions?
No question.
Get a motion to accept?
No action is needed.
Oh, no action needed, I'm sorry.
The next item on the agenda is the year-to-date actual budget comparison report for the month of April 2021. On the general fund, there is really only one variance, and it's related with property tax. Our property taxes are higher than we anticipated by about $100,000, as reflected in this report. We are holding sales tax as is for the general fund. The next report is the capital project fund, and you'll see the additional sales tax revenues that we've collected this year is significant. It's reflected on this report. On our capital project sales tax, we're projecting about a $3.8 million increase. And you also see on this report the receipt of the bond proceeds when we sold our bonds for our Phase 1 project of about $23.3 million sitting in our capital project fund.
So, question.
Go ahead.
So then we're to understand that that means that the administration's intent is to put anything over what's budgeted to the general fund will go into capital outlay
For the current year, yes, sir.
for the current year, and we're projecting that that's going to be the 3.85 over, or will it be more than that?
It will more than likely be more. It's 3.85 today.
April.
As of April's closing, yes, sir.
Okay. So then, and we wouldn't have to do a budget amendment if that's where all the extra revenue is going to go.
Correct. It's not a negative 5%. If it was revenues were down 5% or expenditures above 5%, we would have to adjust the budget.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No actions needed on item B.
All right. Moving on to C, consider approval of the bid of the 2021 cafeteria employee uniforms and shoes.
Madam Chairman, I move to adopt the administration's recommendation on agenda items C, D, E, and F.
Get a second?
Oh, second.
Mr. Duncan made a motion. Ms. Dominguez, second.
Okay, just 1 second.
Mr. Chepsvich, is there any particulars that you need to go over, either one of these?
No, it's pretty straightforward on
That's
the
what we-
attachments.
Okay, we just want to make sure.
I'll call for a vote, Ms. Cindy.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
That was C, D, E, and F, Brett?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, consider selection of the official journal for 2021-22 fiscal year.
Yes, we recommend selecting the Daily Star for the flexibility of the 3 days a week publishing.
I'll make a
Question.
motion. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Motion second. Good question. Mr. Tessich, in speaking with the Daily Star, have they talked about going back to it at least a 5-day circulation?
Not yet, but they did say when they cut back, it was because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're going to go back, but so
Because
far, no.
Every year, they're twice as much as the other proposed publication, but what always gave them the edge was that they were a 5-day circulation and the other one's only a 1-day circulation. but, it seems like that, at 3 days, they're not all, I don't know, you're getting close.
Who else would we consider for this?
Marshall Town.
Ponchatoula Independence Times.
So we can't, I'm just asking this question, but the Advocate, nor, we couldn't consider that newspaper?
Well, they're a lot more expensive.
It has to be within the
It
parish.
has to be within the parish.
So, no other questions?
All right, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, consider the frozen food products for the 2021 school year.
Move to adopt administration's recommendation as to HIJKL.
Okay, I'll second that. I think, wait, did you put J in there?
HIJKL, is that correct, Mr. Duncan?
You want me to take that one out?
Well, I mean, it's a totally
still
different
talk
type-
about it.
Yeah, it's a different type thing, yeah. It's just a renewal of a contract, same price, just want to make a note of that, you know.
Take J out?
No, no, that's fine, you can leave them in there. I just want to make note that they're staying, we're renewing their contract for the same amount of money as before.
All right, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Moving to M, consider approval of the new student information system.
Good evening. We come to you tonight with a recommendation to make a change in our student information system. From currently we use the on-course system, and we'd like to go back to our EdGear system that we had several years ago. We come to you with this recommendation. As things go through, we will develop our committees to get us a timeline, and we plan on implementation in January with EdGear taking over for on-course.
Okay, a question. I mean, I know there was a reason we switched, and we've given it 3 years. We finally got ourselves back together, and everything seems to be running okay, except for a few items, I think, is what I understand. I'd like to know the reasoning why we're going back to somebody that we actually got away from for a particular reason.
Yes, ma'am. The information that everything is working correctly is incorrect. We're having reports that are not properly, do not have the information that we need for the reports. We ask for assistance to get the reports done, and it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months before we get the reports. Our middle school and high school principals and sites are still having issues scheduling, printing grades, etc. So we feel going back to EdGear with their improvements will be something that will be a little less stressful for our middle and high school facilities. The elementary, I think, will be fine either way.
So is elementary going to stay, we're still
ma'am,
staying
no.
in on-course?
We're staying with
Or the-
on-course for the learning system in the classroom.
Okay.
The student information related to MFP count and those types of things will be with EdGear.
And where is the lesson plans will be in
On
on-course?
course, correct.
What about the grades and the roll call, I'm trying to, attendance,
Yes, ma'am.
lunchroom payments, all of that, where's all that staying?
What that is going to start off in on-course, and then our plan is every night it will be updated into the EdGear system.
So well, I know they can't do that, like you said, for school starting, but you're going to try to convert in the middle of the school term?
Yes, ma'am.
In January? Is that not going to throw off any grades or anything?
No, ma'am. We are We received confirmation from the EdGear team. They have done this before. That's why we'd like to get the approval and start July 1, working out if there are going to be any bugs for the transition over in January 1 when we go full speed ahead.
Okay. And what about the, as far as the grades that are in there now? I remember when we first switched over from JPAMS to on-course, the counselors at the high school said the 8th grade scores and grades didn't transfer and they had to manually. So how is that transition back out back into JPAMS now?
Yes, ma'am.
It'll just convert over? I mean, since they're two different systems?
Those are questions that we've had, and EdGear has assured us that it will be no additional work on our employees, that they should be. The way they explained it is that it is our information and we are renting space in on-course. They will be able to go in, capture that information, and move it over into the EdGear system. And it will be housed there just as easy as it was in the on-course system.
Okay, so what were, your first statement, you said something about we didn't get the information, it was several months. Information from who? On-course?
When there is an issue, the schools send in a ticket. And it takes on-course 3 to 6 years to address the issues in that, 3 to 6 months to address the issues in that ticket.
And what are the reports you were looking for?
Well, if we were to do a report for grades, this last time that we ran grades, report cards, there was an issue with some grades being hidden. So it took on-course and our technology department some time to fix it out, and with the help of our technology department, they were able to fix the bug and uncheck the boxes and print the grades. The reports could be something as simple as the number of students in the school system. It could be if we need a report that shows how many minority students are at ABC Elementary, that report sometimes we have difficulty in getting.
So as far as this contract and the money, compensation initial fee, it's listed in here. How does that reflect with, right now we're paying on-course, only on-course. So now we're going to go back to doing we had this before, JPAMS with EdGear and then on-course before. So we're just basically going back to how we were before, but as far as money, is this?
If I remember correctly, the last time we did this, we ran both of them for 1 year. We're going to run both of these from July 1 to December 31. Then on January 1, EdGear will take over the student information system. So we will pay that amount from July 1 to December 31st for on-course. Then effective January 1, we would not pay on-course anymore for the SIS system.
But we'll just still pay them for the
lesson
plans,
for the classroom
like we used to
management,
do
yes,
before.
ma'am.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. I'm just concerned about our limited technology staff, how much work they're going to have to do to convert all this again. We just converted it.
Yes, ma'am. And that is a good group of individuals we have there. We're running some advertisements to increase those numbers. But we feel it's come to a point, we've given 3 years, and we're still not to the point where we need to be. So we feel now's the time to make the change.
Okay, well, I know we've had comments, good and bad, on both sides. Some people love it, some people hate it. So, you're never going to please everybody, but whatever is the most feasible for the dollar and the most efficient use of our staff, the time it takes them to input whatever they're having to input and then wait for a report is beneficial. So, I don't know. I just hope it works out.
Can't do this fast enough. It needed to happen sooner. I'm glad that we're going back to JPAMS, for at least for this component, so.
All right, anybody else? Questions? Miss Brett, didn't you make a motion a little while ago?
I don't think we had a motion.
Okay,
I'll make the motion. Please, yeah. Move to adopt administration's recommendation.
okay.
I'll second.
Voting is open. unanimously.
All right, moving on to N, consider approval of the 2021-22 salary schedule.
Thank you, Madam President. Recently, April 24th election, the voters of Tangible Parish approved the half-penny sales tax. We'll start collecting that half-penny July 1. That additional proceeds will result in a 7% increase across the board. The administration's recommending that y'all approve this year's salary schedule. You'll see a different layout. If you don't mind, Ms. Jenkins, if you could turn to page, let's go page 7, which is the teacher's salary schedule. I'm sorry, page 6. And you'll see the layout here. On the teacher salary, we'll have hourly and annual raises, and we'll have a column for every classification of employee. So you get an idea of exactly seeing the position. If you turn to page 7, you'll see at the top, we have our paraprofessionals, which are classified in 2 groups, non-highly qualified and then highly qualified paraprofessionals. And then you'll see our school secretaries, where we have 9-month, 10-month, and 11-month secretaries, and you can see their annual starting pay and their hourly wages. And that's kind of the format we're laying out now, so it's a more user-friendly salary schedule than in the past. Some of the major changes in this salary schedule is, a 7% increase across the board. That cost on that is for salaries alone is $6.5 million. Benefits related with those salaries is another $2.3 million, for a total of $8.8 million of the $10 million we're anticipating receiving with the half penny. The remaining funds, we made some corrections and some adjustments. On the corrections, if you notice on the same screen, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
I think it was page 8, the teacher salaries, the school secretaries, where we have 9-month and 10-month employees. Over the years, the state has given school employees, both teachers and support employees, state raises. And we've implemented those state raises to our group of employees. In this example above, if you notice a school secretary 9-month employee and a school secretary 10-month, if the state would issue a $500 support raise, both groups would get $500. But one group works 1,260 hours, another group works 1,400 hours. If you take the state raises and you divide it by the number of hours they work, the ones that work less hours tend to have, will end up with a higher hourly wage. And when we rebuilt our schedule and we looked at it, it was evident that our 9-month secretaries were paid at a higher rate than our 10-month and 11-month secretaries. So this salary schedule is correcting that and adjusting them all to the higher rates, which was the 9-month secretarial pay. The cost to make that correction is about, results in about $37,000 or $38,000, and it impacts about 50 of our employees. So we've made the correction to adjust for those state raises to make sure they're all paid on the same hourly wage. So if we hire a 9-month secretary and they start with no experience, they're making $16.42 an hour. If they're 11-month employees starting with no experience, they're being paid the same $16.42 an hour. Yes, sir, Mr. Duncan.
Apology. So Brett, mentioning the state raises, there's another.
That's included in these numbers. I'm sorry.
Okay, I wanted to make, so this salary schedule adopts both our 7% increase, the corrections that are on this worksheet, and the legislative pay raises that are about to come through.
Correct, but the $400 and $800, $400 for support employees, $800 for certificated employees, those additional funds are going to be in the MFP. They're not coming out the half penny. So they're not on our correction worksheet, which I'm going to go over in a few minutes, but they are included in this salary schedule.
That's what but they're included on the salary schedule that we're talking about. They're not on your worksheet that shows how the half penny is going to get used. I get that. But in the salary schedules that you're asking us to adopt, that includes all of those raises / adjustments, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So if Ms. Jenkins, if you don't mind, let's go to our other worksheet, which is our changes in our salary schedule. And we'll go down there for line by line. So the first item is the 7% across the board increase, and you can see The salary increases of $6.5 million for those employees, $2.3 million in benefits, a total of $8.8 million. And then you can see the corrections we're making, where we're correcting our school secretary hourly wage, which we're adjusting the 10-month and 11-month to the higher 9-month rate. It impacts 50 employees and it costs about $38,000. We're also correcting our custodial hourly wage for our 10-month, 11-month, and 12-month custodians to the higher 9-month hourly wage. That's cost us $52,000 and impacts 49 employees. Correction number 3 is our office assistant hourly pay, changing the 9 and 10 month, which is only 3 employees, to a higher hourly rate of 12 months. I'm not exactly sure how that got to be different, but now they're being corrected. The 4th change is to add 2 levels of our high school principal stipends. Right now, the high school principal stipends cap at a figure that is less than the enrollment of our 2 largest high schools. So we're just increasing that to adjust to accommodate for those 2 larger high schools.
Where is that on the salary schedule?
That is going to be on page, I think, page 18. And if you notice on the MFP enrollment, it capped at 1,551 in the old policy. And now we're adding 2 more lines where we have an 1801 to 2050 and then a 2050 and greater line. And the enrollment numbers are changing proportional to the previous numbers. So there's
Okay. So where's Ponchatoula at? Gonna be?
They're going to be at the higher, the 1.75 index number. Their enrollment number is over 2,050.
Okay, and then Hammond is in that, in between the 1801 and the 2050?
Just a second, Mr. Duncan. I'm not exactly sure, Mr. Duncan. It may be the lower 2 levels where I think Hammond High falls in the 1551 to 1800, and I think Ponchatoula High falls in the 1801 to 2050.
Or at least right now, that's where they fall.
Correct. I think right now,
Yeah.
Hammond High's index is on 1.6, and the Ponchatoula principal is on 1.65, and they'll both jump up 1 step.
So it's just kind of weird. You know, we go, all of the other adjustments seem to be, you know, going by roughly 200 students, maybe 300, and then
Well, it's 250 students, and from 550 to 1800 is
okay.
250, and then from 18 to 20 is another 250. So it's still a 250 jump.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And the last correction is correction number 5, is correcting our agricultural teacher pay. I'm not sure how by state law, our ag teachers are paid for 12 months. Previously, they were paid for 9 months at full pay and 3 months at a state-based rate pay. We're going to correct them to index them, to pay them the same amount all year long for their work. So they're not paid less per hour or during the summer months. They'll be paid proportionally for what they're asked to do. And that impacts 8 employees, and that's $63,000 impact. The total of those 5 corrections is $165,000. Those are the adjustments we've made to the salary schedule, the corrections we made. In year 1, we're recommending some other adjustments that would total out to the estimated $10 million that we anticipate the 1/2 cent penny to generate for us. I'll go through these adjustments. They're, again, just administrative recommendations. If you'd like to make changes to them, we certainly can do that. But please keep in mind that the $10 million cap is where we estimate our revenue to be. So any changes would have to be Any additional areas of changes we'd have to offset by reducing something that's being recommended in this worksheet. The number one item is adjustment is to increase our annual effectiveness stipend. Right now, it's on page 3 of our salary schedule. And right now, it's $150 for highly effective, $100 for effective proficient, and $50 for effective emerging. In the highly effective group, we had last year 180 teachers that met that qualification. In the effective proficient, we had over 800 teachers that made that. And the effective emerging, I think we had another 150 that made that. The superintendent and administration feel that we want to recognize those highly effective teachers, and we think that moving this number from 150 to 450 would be a first-year adjustment. Hopefully, we'd like to get it to about $1,000 as Ms. Stilley's recommendation, but we're hoping to see where our revenue is after 1 year, see if we can adjust it in future years to make it more incentivized for employees and teachers to achieve that highly effective recognition.
These scores are coming from the value-added program that we had before, right?
I'll have to turn to Mrs.
It's the
Jinko how
final
they're determining.
evaluation. It's their final evaluation.
Final evaluation? Okay.
So it considers both the observation data and.
Oh, I'm sorry. It considers the observation data as well as the growth data of students, it's both. So it's their final evaluation
Okay.
rating.
Okay, I was trying to figure out how, because on the worksheet, it just showed 180 people, and I was thinking that didn't seem like a lot for the many employees that we had to be highly effective.
Yeah, that's correct.
We anticipate the cost on that is $70,000 for that change in our salary schedule. The second adjustment is with our assistant principal stipend on page 19. And what we'd like to do on page 19 is to index on student enrollment similar to our principal's index. This is going to impact 15 of our employees. The about a total impact is $38,000. What we're doing is, get to page 19.
No.
Is we've added some indexes for our elementary, junior high, and high school assistant principals. And you can see the changes here. In the past, I think the elementary, high schools were not indexed on enrollment. They were just given an additional annual increase, but the administration feels that indexing it on enrollment and having a percentage of salaries is more equitable for the work and time they put in.
I think previously it was $600 a year
Yes.
for an elementary assistant principal.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Jinko. I'm a little slow today. I've been off. The assistant principals will all work an additional 15 days. Right now, just the high school and the junior high school principals work 15 additional days a year. The elementary school teachers, elementary assistant principals, we've been doing and allowing on a green timesheet when needed, where they're all going to work the 15 extra days. And that's why the stipends are such an increase for those elementary assistant principals.
Okay. When you say on enrollment, are you talking about the types of school that they are serving in? Because on the salary schedule,
No, it's the number of students enrolled in the
Pages
school.
are off from that to that, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a type of school. It's still.
so it's not by,
It's not by enrollment.
Okay.
So correct me for that, I'm sorry. It is the grade level of the school.
So the index multipliers dependent upon whether it's elementary, junior, or high school.
And that's correct.
Okay.
And the junior high and high school assistant principals carry a lot more extra work, extra duty than the elementary principals.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me, but the number of students didn't make sense to me because more students, you have more assistant principals, so you're not, okay. All right, I'm back on.
The next change is with our coaches stipend. You'll find on page 20. The administration met with the athletic director, and these were recommendations that he felt were needed. Again, we were limited to the $10 million of projected revenue, so there are other things we'd like to do in this salary schedule, but are limited on what funds we have available. These are the items that the athletic director felt was the most important to try to accomplish in year one: to increase the head baseball coach stipend from 7% to 9%, increase the head softball stipend coach from 7% to 9%, increase the head volleyball stipend from 7% to 9%, increase minor sports stipends for each high school by $1,000, increase summer coaches stipend by $1,000 per major sport, increase the maximum allowed stipend from 16 to 18%, and you can see the costs related with those, from $9,000 for the additional 2% for the coaches stipends, $63,000 for the summer coaching sport, $18,000 anticipated for increasing the overall stipend to 18%. The next change is with our junior high and middle school coaches stipends to mirror more like the high school stipends. So the football increases supplements by 3 per school. There are 7 schools that have football at the junior high level. For non-football junior high schools, we're going to increase their supplement by 1, set the maximum allowed stipend at 12% for our junior high coaches. We also recommend an increase in the athletic field upkeep by $250. Right now it's at $500 a field per year. Now it will be $750. And then we are recommending an increase in the extracurricular activity stipend, about 54% increase. That's a significant increase for our principals. The extracurricular stipend is for our pep squads, our cheerleading, our extra duty outside of athletics that a principal at a high school level asks their teachers and administrative staff to do. The principal has the flexibility to determine how that is allocated each semester to those employees who are doing those extra activities. Another correction we have in this salary schedule is to convert all our 9 and 10-month custodians to 11 months. You know, cleaning our schools and keeping our schools in good cleaning takes a lot of work. And we have been using our 9-month and 10-month custodians over the summer, allowing our principals to let them work during the summer months. We'd like to make that a permanent thing and build the schedule to accommodate that. And then the numbers 8, 9, and 10 on the salary schedule are items that Ms. Stilley feels we need to work at how we compare with our neighboring districts. It impacts our custodians, our child nutrition workers, and our school bus drivers and bus attendants. If you could turn to the next sheet, we'll go over that.
Can I ask you a question about number 10?
Yes, sir.
Because some of the calls I've been getting about that $300, didn't it come with, you had to turn in some paperwork at the proper time, you had to do all that, or you don't get it? What is it? And in our...
No, that's a different item,
Something
Mr.
different.
Bush. Yeah,
Yeah.
that you're talking about is $360, and it's a refund of their insurance premiums, and it only impacts the owner-operators who are required to purchase insurance for their bus. The board-owned bus drivers don't pay that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And one of the big things on that one is not having a preventable accident.
Yeah.
So, but this 300 is going to impact all drivers. It's a
Regardless.
salary increase across the board, and will make them about $50 per year annually starting pay above Livingston Parish. And we'll see that in this next slide if we can.
Right here?
Yes. This next slide, Cindy, just a little bit further down. There you go.
Okay, okay.
Here you can see a comparative of these key support workers with our neighboring districts. And at the top, you can see our custodians, and then you can see our school food service and our school bus drivers. When we compare ourselves to Livingston and to St. Tammany, our custodians are significantly underpaid compared to our neighboring districts. The starting pay of our custodian right now is $17,383. When we implement this new salary schedule with an additional $1,000 added by Ms. Stilley's recommendation, their starting pay will go to $21,163. They'll still be about $3,000 less than Livingston Parish, and about, I can't see that number, y'all might say, 55,000 less St. Tammany Parish for starting pay. In the second column of comparison, you can see we're averaging the pay over the life of the custodian, where we're taking their starting pay, their 5-year pay, their 10-year pay, their 15-year pay, their 20-year pay, 25-year pay, and averaging those numbers and comparing them to our neighboring districts. And you can see we're much more comparable in that sense. Instead of being 14% less than Livingston Parish for our head custodian with a 7% raise, with a $1,000 additional raise, we now, over the life of the custodian, we're 9.7% less than Livingston, and still significantly less than St. Tammany. If you go down to the second group, our school food service workers, our starting pay for our school food service worker today is $14,570. We're proposing to give a 7% raise plus $500. That starting pay will come out to $16,480. And comparing that with Livingston starting pay, we're about $922 less than Livingston and about $5,000 less than St. Tammany. But over the life of the school food service worker, looking at their average pay over their career is $20,244. It's higher than Livingston by $500, a little over $500, but still significantly less than St. Tammany Parish. And then if you look at our school bus drivers, we're recommending not only a 7% raise, but plus $300. It brings their starting pay from $16,032 to $17,854. If you compare it with Livingston Parish, it's really equal to Livingston Parish. It's $45 more than Livingston on an annual basis. But over the life of the school bus driver, the average pay is $22,089, where Livingston is $19,000. We're about $3,000 a year on the average higher than Livingston Parish. We feel that right now our school bus drivers and our food service, we've narrowed that gap significantly with Livingston. We're not where we want to be with St. Tammany, but we're still working. But we still feel our custodians are in an area where we need to do a little more work. But again, we're limited on the funds based on what the 1/2 penny will generate, and we're projecting that to be just $10 million at this point. The only other changes in the salary schedule that is in our worksheet is we're asking to add 5 positions related with our food service workers. This will be paid out of the child nutrition funds. It will not come out of the 1/2 penny, but we'd like to add an additional production manager at our largest cafeteria schools, those that are being asked to serve more than 1,500 meals per day, and there's 5 of those schools. We would like to add an additional production manager. Right now, those larger schools have a manager and 1 production manager. We'd like to have a manager and 2 production managers. Again, that would be paid out of the federal reimbursement money we get under our child nutrition program.
I'd like to add to that as we were looking at this, we want this to be a yearly review of our salary schedule where we look at the collection of the 1/2 penny sales tax, and each year we're hoping that as sales tax collections increase, we can come to the board and continue to narrow the gap every year in competitive wages to our neighboring parishes. So we see this as a first step in year 1 because, it's our first year. So we're anticipating collecting $10 million, but we're not sure at this point. It's our first year on basis of this. But then next year at this time, we would like to come back again with a year collection and a little bit better judgment on how much we will be collecting, and then make recommendations for a year 2 increase to even lessen the gap more.
Ms. Sealy, if I can, just to remind the board, the reason we're not 100% certain is we're not sure how much less revenue we'll have without groceries and prescription drugs. The one item that was on the schedule to be discussed, but it looks like it may not be an issue now, is the changes in the owner-operator's operation schedule. Is my understanding A House bill that was going to significantly increase our owner-operators reimbursement has been voted down by the Senate today, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. But if it should be resurrected and approved, we would come back to y'all and adjust the salary schedule accordingly.
Yeah, I read that it failed today.
Yeah, failed yesterday.
Yes, sir.
This may be a technicality, but the school food service workers and the group that Mr. Snottabout just went over, just make sure everybody understands that it is their old salary, the 7% is added, plus the raise from the state, plus the addition.
Right, that's right.
I just want to make sure.
That's because I said that both with the custodial pay and with even our bus drivers on this worksheet, these groups of employees, they're going to get a 7% increase. They're all non-certified personnel, so they'll get a $400 state increase, and then we're adding an additional amount to them to narrow the gap with our neighboring districts. And when we compared ourselves with Livingston Parish, we adjusted their numbers to accommodate the state raise too.
Question. On the bus drivers in St. Tammany Parish, am I remembering correctly that part of the reason they get paid more is because they're contracted to work 7 hours a day, and our bus drivers and Livingston's bus drivers are contracted to work roughly 5 hours a day?
That's correct. That's one of the things that I'm being told, is that they work 7 hours a day. Our bus drivers and bus attendants work 5 hours a day.
So unless we were to bump our time requirement up to 7 hours a day, it'd be very difficult to get our salaries competitive into St. Tammany for the bus drivers.
Well, and that's correct. Also keep in mind though, working 7 hours a day, their bell times are much different. They start schools as late as 9 o'clock and then much later in the afternoon than we do. Their number of drivers to student ratio is much lower, so they're able to afford the higher salaries by having their drivers do as many as 3 runs a day, where our drivers, the most we do is 2.
Right. And some of the longer routes just do
Only
one.
do 1, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you all for the consideration.
Okay, so, Mr. Snottabout, with all the information I sent you yesterday, at some point, I would like to discuss that. I mean, I can vote for this to move forward to the school board, full board next week, but I had a lot of questions that I'm really not happy about. I would like to, I don't know how we're going to deal with that. We just need to talk about it, yeah.
We can get together and go over them individually. I have not had an opportunity to look at your long email in great detail. I did before the meeting, and some of the items and some of the assumptions you make aren't correct, so it'd be an informative process both for me and you to get together. We can meet one day this week.
Yeah.
Certainly, the schedule is going to go toward the board, so it's not being approved today, it's just being approved to go to the board at the next board meeting. But the administration would like to get board approval so we can implement it effective starting our July payroll with our 12-month employees.
So, at some point then, I mean, I did send it to Mr. Duncan, but some of these things I've been asking, I've been here 15 years, I've been asking for at least 10 of them to do some adjusting, and I mean, at some point, we have to address some of these issues that I feel like that we need to address.
Well, keep in mind, it's our intent to address all our salary issues. We're just limited at the $10 million. The information that's built into this schedule are recommendations that are coming from the athletic administrative director and his recommendations, where he felt was the biggest need for the change. But certainly, you and I can meet, we can go over them and price out the items, and we can look to see what it would cost to implement some of the changes.
Okay, because I mean, I know there's a lot of employees that are, when I tell you that in the email, they're hands on deck and they're working every day, day in and day out, and they've offered to basically be a committee to discuss in detail and not just say, okay, let's do this. Because we're all about committees and taking suggestions here, and I don't think we did that this time. So, I mean, you may have taken the suggestion from the director head, but I think the director head could benefit by getting some suggestions from some of our coaches and our employees that work on our campuses every day with this.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
But, I mean, I just didn't want you to, I mean, accepting going over this, I appreciate it. I know it's a lot of hard work, what you've done, and we are limited on money. We can't pay for everything. We can't jump over the moon in one day. But there are some things that I really was pretty clear about in my email, so, I mean, I don't know if, you know, I didn't really share it with everybody else, but I did send it to Brett because I knew he was going to be, you know, on this committee today, so.
Well, I'd love to meet with you. We can go over them
Okay.
individually. You let me know when you're available, I'll make that happen.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Stonerbach, you keep mentioning $10 million. Do we know how much the prescription drugs and groceries brings in on the other pennies?
We don't.
Okay.
That's what Ms. Drude, Donna Drude, our sales tax collector, is estimating that the prescription drugs and groceries accounts for about 22% of our sales. So she's projecting that it would be about 82% of our regular collections.
And that penny's worth how much nowadays?
Well, right now, it's a little over $20 million.
It just keeps climbing, doesn't it?
It does. It's amazing. I don't know why, but it is. It's the stimulus money, it's auto sales, but my feeling, and I've expressed this to both Ms. Stilley and to Ms. Drude, is that a lot of people are making purchases of vehicles, which are the high-ticket items that result in significant impact on our sales tax collection, and they may defer purchasing in the near future. So there may be a time where our sales tax numbers actually decline because our auto purchases are going down. Right now, our motor vehicle sales tax collection is 50% higher than it was this time last year.
What happens in the future when, that's really my question, is all of this not drops off, but it's worth $5 million now instead of 10. What happens in the future?
In our sales tax collection?
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to be bearer of bad news, but I mean, do we have a plan B?
I hope Mr. Bush is not 10. I mean,
Is
drops to
there
5.
any way we might could add something, wording to any of this? Because we don't know the future.
Depending upon
any of it.
pandemic.
Should we add something on there? Because, you know, we want to give everybody a break. We want to continue. But what if it doesn't continue?
Well, keep in mind, the very first paragraph of our sales tax, from our new salary schedule,
Planning of the design of the building.
reads
There's two ones
that, you know, this additional compensation is based on additional revenue. And when if and when the additional half penny is not renewed, then those proceeds would be removed from the salary schedule. But that's true, that's 15 years down the line. We anticipate to collect 10 million. We really want to wait and see. If it doesn't collect the 10 million, then we may have to adjust some of the things we're taking into the salary, but we don't anticipate that at this time.
True. Mr. Duncan, should we add something, a little wording in there? I know it says 15 years is gone, but what if 3 years something happens to the economy and
Well, I mean, we have
are we
provisions that deal with that, and we've been through that before, where we've had to do reductions in force. We've had, I mean, it's a brutal, horrible time to be a board member when that's to be the CFO for sure. But
The state does require that a school board pay the salary not less than what was paid the previous year. The only exception is if the revenues related with that drop off. So if this would drop less than 10 million, then we would adjust the percentages to accommodate the lower projected revenue.
we could adjust.
We could.
We could adjust it.
We could do other things
And that
too.
wording's already in there.
Reduction in force.
Okay.
That wording's in the state law.
Got you. Thank you.
Mr. Snow, just to, because he makes a really good point. The reason that we don't have, as I understand it, that this 10 million is really more of a guesstimate than many of our other projections is because all of the other times that we project sales tax numbers, we can use what happened last year to do projections, but we don't have any other taxes on the books that exempt groceries and prescriptions. Is that right?
Not local taxes.
Right,
There are
so-
state taxes, but not local taxes. That's correct.
So it's really, until we actually have a year where we are doing that, it's really difficult to do a firmer projection.
That's correct.
So, okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion on this, Mr. Duncan?
We don't have a motion yet?
We don't have a
I'll
motion
make a motion to adopt administration's recommendation.
Mr. Duncan made a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Mingus, second. Vote, Ms. Cindy?
Voting is open.
What did I do? I think I made it worse. Yes.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Great. If there's no other, anything else for this meeting? We'll call this meeting adjourned then.